In this lesson, we're going to take a look at how we can add realistic camera type effects to our renders by using the depth of field shader. So if we take a look inside the scene that we have currently, you can see really we have just a very basic setup here. We have 3 different dice, each of which is a different distance away from the camera. So what we'll see is how we can use this depth of field shader as a way of calling attention and really bringing the focus to very particular areas of our scene. So to connect this, what we first need to do is go to View, select Camera, take a look inside the attributes, and what we want to do is take a look inside the mental ray area. Now this depth of field shader is going to be connected as a lens shader. So let's click on our color chip over here, and we'll take a look inside the lens shaders, down toward the bottom, and we'll connect in the physical lens depth of field. Alright, so let's just take a quick render of this to see what we have. Let's save a render for comparison. And now we can start to see that there is some definite blurring that's happening in our renders. So let's take a look at how we can start to control this a little bit better. Now in order to focus the camera on a certain area, we have to adjust this plane. Now the goal is really not to just simply arbitrarily adjust this until we find some kind of a value that works. What we need to do is find some kind of a good starting point or a preliminary value to go with. So let's start by going back to our perspective view here. Now let's go up to Display, go to Heads Up Display, and enable the Object Details. Now once we enable this, what this will do is let us get some information about the objects that we currently have selected, one of which is that object's distance from the camera. So let's select this main dice in front, or right in the middle. So you can see right now this is just a little bit shy of being 3 units away from the camera. So let's go back to our camera, take a look inside the depth of field shader, and for the plane, let's enter a value of -3, which corresponds to roughly about 3 units away from the camera. We do want to make sure that in Maya 2009 that we're using a negative value. In previous versions of Maya, we could always input a positive value, but now that's not the case. And now we can see that this area that's roughly about 3 units away from the camera is relatively well in focus. So in our case, it looks like these back corners are the area that pretty closely correspond to that value. So we could always come back and start to choke this back a little bit. Let's say if we wanted to bring this front point a little bit more into focus. So let's say something like -2.5. We'll see what that does for us. And there we go. So now by lowering that plane, that now brings the focal point back a little bit closer to the camera, and now is able to bring this closest corner of this dice into nice sharp focus. Now just below the plane attribute we have the radius. Now this is controlling the amount of blurring that happens before or after the main focal point. So with this being at a higher value, say something like 0.5, we should now see a much higher amount of blurring on either end of this focal point. So let's save this, and you can see that that's exactly what we get, a much higher amount of blurring before the focal point and after. So that's a look at how we can use this physical depth of field lens shader as a way of calling attention to these very particular areas of our rendered image.